Edward, you've been around the internet for a few years and have a website, SelfTransformation.org, and you've been on Pal Talk for about 8 years. And a lot of us have learned about you in that manner. But for those who have never heard of you or are familiar with what you have to say, who do you say you are?
I'm the possibility for the future of mankind.
That's a pretty broad statement. What makes
thank you for giving me that space to answer that. That's the first time I've ever said that. Means to say that I'm bringing forth a new consciousness, a new human being, a new way of being, a new consciousness void of the violence that lives in the old consciousness.
And what makes you capable of bringing forth a new consciousness?
The death of the old consciousness. The fact that it died in me 28 years ago. November the 19th, 1979.
And what happened that caused you, the old consciousness to die and a new consciousness to be born?
I failed at every domain of activity available in that particular consciousness. Every one of them.
Such as?
Failed as a father, as a son, as a husband, as a cousin, as a worker, as a boss, as a corporation, as a business person, as a flower seller in Kmart. All of it.
Just the failure of that caused you to bring forth a new consciousness, or is there something else involved?
The speaking of the truth of it, which allowed me to see my complete failure.
So you spoke the truth of your being a failure to whom?
To myself, and to each of those other folks in my life that I have just mentioned, to the only wife I've had, to the only parents I've ever had, to my brothers and sisters, to everyone who I've ever come into contact with, I've failed.
What exactly happened? Could you tell us what it was exactly that brought back, not the failure, but the experience that you had that brought forth a new consciousness?
Well, it's in the www.selftransformation.org website. And in there's a description of what happened. It can be described I have described it, by the way, in hundreds of different ways for different people, because always it needs to be new for me if I'm going to describe what happened. So what happened actually was the entirety of this universe dropped dead in one split second, and the energy of that happening created the energy for a new universe to be born.
Are other folks capable of having this experience and bringing forth a new consciousness?
Yes.
Is this a new road, a new path in evolution that you see mankind is
If
taking?
you mean by new, never having been before, which obviously is what new is, isn't it? New. Never having been before, then yes. And you can tell by the ridiculousness of what I'm saying. Can you see the ridiculousness of what I'm saying? I'm saying that I dropped dead, and that from that death, I created a new life. And I'm saying that it was this entity that did it. It wasn't a God, it wasn't a Jesus, it wasn't some extraneous energy. It was the energy of my own life coming to an end and meeting the failure of my life, which indeed created a new life.